Well, I'm back. See who comes back for the hang. In the meantime, I'm going to have a bite of my Go Macro bar. Who's here? Joe. Hi, Joe. I tell you what, it's annoying how after an hour and something of the chat, every week now it seems to cut off. I don't know what's going on. Hey, Ben. Jason says, ran out of time. I honestly don't know what it is, man. I mean, my internet's fast and everything's cool, and then it just, sometimes it recovers, but this time it didn't. I don't know. Little hiccup in the internet. It is what it is. So just know that every time that happens, I'll just do this. You know, I wait about 60 seconds, and then if it doesn't reconnect, yeah, just under 2 hours each week, Ben Coombs says it does this. That's about right. So if it does that and it doesn't reconnect, I'll just start a new one a couple minutes later. You know, I'll wait for a second, see if it reconnects, and if not, so I'll just come back. So now's a good time to ask a question because there's not as many people here. If Bruce called to ask you to stand in for Little Steven or Nils in the E Street Band, would you take the gig? Hell yeah. They have fun. And I bet the money would be great. And I like Bruce. That'd be amazing. So show me how you play the main riff to Burn. Oh God, I forget it right now. Braxall. Okay, hold on a second here. Let's revisit Burn. The style of Blackmore. Okay, let's do it one time here, and then I'll. So the thing about Blackmore is he used a lot of dyads. So I think what you got to do, to be honest, is let me hear it one more time. And so, how's he do it? I thought it was his thumb, but yeah, it's hard to do without an amp. That chord. Like that. That's how he does it. So you right, and that's what not a lot of people get right, is the dyads. Right? It's just those two notes, you know? And I think I've watched him, because I had to learn it once to do something. I don't remember what, but and I watched him. I go, oh, he's playing it with his thumb, because I'd never really learned it before. So thumb on the G, and you got to kind of, and then get right back to the thumb. Like that. And then it'll sound right like him. And it's all about those little 2-note chord things and the slides, you know, 2 little dyads. Yeah. Hope you can hear it. Pete, talk about the difference in Van Halen tones. Van Halen 1 versus Fair Warning. Why and how are they different sound? Oh, man. I mean, it's hard to say, to be honest, exactly what he was doing by then, you know? it's the same amp and everything, but like, what was the pickup on Fair Warning? Who knows, by then? It's really hard to say, to be honest, what the difference in tone is. But Fair Warning is unbelievable sounding, right from the get-go with Main Street at the beginning. But, I feel like there's more of a handle almost on like Van Halen 1, and by 2, it seemed like just raw plexi PAF kind of going on, and then it gets a little foggy to me, Women and Children First and Fair Warning on exactly what he was doing, Not sure. I mean, he had different guitars that he was playing like around Fair Warning, so it's hard to say. There was the Circles guitar could have been that, it's like, who knows what he was using on. There's not a lot of talk about that, like what guitars on specific tracks and stuff. People more focus on Van Halen 1 all the time. And then by the time you get to 1984, it's like, what were, it's funny. I was asking Steve Vai the other day because I was talking to him about the amp and trying to ask him on what it was used on. And we were trying to nail down whether or not he had it by the time Eat 'Em and Smile was recorded, because he said that the amp actually was, you had to wait a while. Jose was legendary for kind of taking a long time to get things done. And so he waited a while for it, but he said the time that they were rehearsing and preparing, like the pre-production for the album, was a long time. Months and months and months, I guess. So he said, I might have had it by the time that we recorded the record, but he just couldn't quite remember. But I definitely had it for tours. I believe the Eat 'Em and Smile tour, and then the next record, and then the tour after that, and then Whitesnake. That was the whole era when he had it and was using it. And then by the end of the Whitesnake tour, and kind of around when he was doing Passion and Warfare, he said, the amps were getting unreliable and dodgy, and he was looking for other things. And that's when a lot of the new boutique stuff was coming out, and Soldano and Wagner and different things were starting to come out. And so he started looking at other amps. But yeah, a lot of his riffs are like that, says Ethan. My Woman from Tokyo, certainly. That chord. Right? Those little diodes. And they sound really ballsy through a dirty, British amp. Is this Strat vintage? What year? This Strat is it's late 64, November 64. So real transitional with the logo in the weird place that they did on some guitars right around that time for like a month. And pearl dots, so it's 60, it's sort of solidly getting into almost 65 neck, but look at the finish, it's a 64 style sunburst and still got the mint green guard and stuff, and not this. So it's a real transition guitar. Solidly pre-CBS L plate, you can see, but a couple months pre-CBS, and you can see the back of the neck is worn and cool. You can imagine it feels good. Love this guitar. I played it in the video for the Eidolon or Eidolon pedal. Can't remember how to pronounce it. I used this guitar. Any books I can recommend for learning about gear and tone? I'm a young guitar player who's been playing through Fender Mustang all his life. There's some great books about like the history of Marshall amplification. Anything you could read, I guess, about, Leo Fender or Jim Marshall would probably be pretty good if you can find some good books on those guys. Books you can read on tone. I mean, not really. There's so much on the internet these days that it's almost like you can find out just about anything you need to know by just, I did a cool movie called Empire recently that you can watch online. If you AMPIRE movie, and it'll pop up. It's a cheap rental while we're all home and isolated. But that was really fun. It's just a bunch of people talking about amps and the history of amps, and that's kind of I think a cool watch. Check that out, maybe. Stuck between getting another Sir Classic Pro with 3 singles and a Fender Custom Shop 60s Strat. Says Strat fan, JJ UK Strat fan. Yeah, you got to just play the guitar that speaks to you, I guess. And play the one that seems to be an old friend when you pick it up. Is that an original Trini or a reissue? That guitar back there is a Dave Grohl, so it's a reissue DG335. Ben Coombs is asking about I have no string tree. No, I took it off years ago. I think it's in the pocket, the case. I still have the original case, but you don't really need it. I wrap my strings a lot, and I actually didn't even do it this string change. I'm looking right now, but there's about 4 wraps on the G. If on the G string in particular, you wrap all the way down, like 5 wraps or something, and it'll just push the string all the way to the bottom. Then you can, you don't really need a tree. This guitar only had a tree anyway for the top 2 strings, and if you just wrap them down real far, that's the B and the E. You don't really need a, this bridge, by the way, I got it angled kind of Jeff Becky or, like up quite far, and it stays in tune great. I don't know what it is, but this is the one guitar that I have that's got a traditional Strat style bridge, 6-screw. It's the original bridge and saddles and everything. And it just does not really go out of tune. It stays in tune really well. I mean, with, reasonable tremolo use, nothing too crazy. But it stays in tune great. Let's see here. Jonathan says he's currently in talks with Marshall for an endorsement. Wish him luck. Good luck, my friend. Get that amp and make rock. Blistering hot rock and roll. Marty V says, hey, Pete, on the PT15, can I load it with 3 Sigma IRs for acoustic guitars on the clean? It's an interesting idea, but I wouldn't do that necessarily. You can do that. But I don't know if you're going to be running. It's like running an electric guitar amp into an IR with an acoustic guitar. I mean, maybe it'll be the greatest sound ever. It'll be like it would be something that was very 70s of you to try. In the spirit of experimentation, don't do the normal thing. But no, I would probably just use a regular IR loader of some sort with an acoustic. Helix is a great choice for that, man, because it's got all the EQ and compressor and the IR loader and everything built in. I would just do that for the acoustic, to be honest. I would. Truth Tech says he wanted a Flying V, though it's a stand-up guitar like comedy. It is a stand-up guitar. At least you can always lean them against the wall and they won't fall over. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Pete, Line 6 Pod Go seem good. Haven't tried one yet, to be honest. So I'm not sure. Got to get a hold of one. JJ Strat fan says it's a beautiful guitar. Thanks, man. What else we got going here? Eddie says he removes the string trees as well. Yeah, you don't really need them, I find. On most guitars I've tried, as long as you set them up right. Have I had a chance to try out a simplifier, says Andrew. I believe that's this pedal that I have here that's like an amp, little pedal board amp. It's pretty cool. I have tried it for those that want, to use their overdrives and things and then have a little amp style pedal on a pedal board and then go right to a DI and out to the house. So I'm making a video for them of the thing, and I do have it here. And I did plug it in only briefly. I just had 5 minutes to check it out and kind of ran through some sounds and stuff. So there'll be video coming pretty soon for that. Do I still have and use Scumbacks? I do. I've got a couple cabs with Scumbacks. I got a 412 loaded with them. I got a 112 in the other room loaded with them. They're still great. I've mainly just been using Celestians lately. In the closet is an old Marshall cab with 78 blackbacks. So they're the original, old speakers from, God, cabinet is old now, isn't it? 40 something years. So, but it sounds great. And then I've got the Celestians in another cab. So, yeah. Pete, tell us how you got the gig with Steve Stevens at the Iridium, says Double R Guitar. I'd been friends with Steve for 4 or 5 years by that point, and he just said, hey, man, got this idea. I want to go do some gigs. You want to go out to New York and, play some shows. It'll be fun. And I was like, sure, dude, that sounds fun. So it was really just friends, that kind of thing. And that was fun. Actually, it was real cool. And Peter's in Denmark. What's up, man? How are you? Do I have any 7-string guitar in my arsenal? I don't. I would love to try a 7-string one of these days, but it's kind of, what I'd probably like to have is actually like a 7-string, but with only 6 strings, if that makes sense. Do the whole like the low string thing. So more than 6 strings freaks me out. So do the low string. I could take a regular guitar maybe that's longish scale or something, and just put 7 strings on it. Not have a high E string. Might make more sense to me. Maybe I should just get a 7-string, not overthink it. But it just kind of messed with my head a little bit, just the more strings thing. Michael's up there in the top chat. I guess I should go soon, guys. So it's 1:49. I'll go till 2, and then I'll cut out. He says, your demo music is really great. Thanks, man. When you do them, do you start with drum tracks for inspiration? And if not, how do you use drum tools to program them so well? I've just got a couple drum programs I use. I'm a big fan of Easy Drummer and Superior Drummer, and also sometimes I use Steven Slate drums still, as well as other things like Arcade and some other programs. But mainly it's a lot of Superior Drummer these days and Easy Drummer. Just really great tools. And I'll try and get drums going pretty quick. So if I write a riff, my main thing is I'll write a riff, record it into my phone usually, so that I know, okay, there's a little guitar part to kind of branch off of, and then I'll get drums up and going pretty quick. So in my DAW, I've got drums in my main. I'll open up a new session with a recording template, and it's already got drums in the template. The big thing is having a template that is easy to use, and you can get some ideas. A template's like when you open up a new session in Pro Tools or Logic or whatever, and you open up a brand new one, and it's got tracks already in there for your guitars and stuff, and maybe a drum software track and everything ready to go. So just within a couple minutes, I can get a drum beat up. I'll tap something in, figure out a tempo, and then just kind of jam the riff that I came up with that I'd maybe recorded into my phone 10 minutes earlier. How did it go again? And then I'll listen to it on the phone, go, oh, yeah. And then I'll jam along with the drums and then see where it goes from there. So, but yeah, I like getting drums going pretty quick. I find it's helpful. Thanks for that good question. It's always more fun to, have some rhythmic accompaniment and inspiring, I find, for me. Thanks again for the super chat thing. JJ Music is up there too in the super chat. Have you ever tried Tone King amps, and what do I think about those? I haven't really, other than their attenuators, but I know they've got a good reputation. Oh, did I hear the Marshally one? I think the Royal something or other. Isn't that cool? Pretty cool amp. And then the Iron Man is actually a really great attenuator. I've tried the small version as well as the big one. So I think they probably make pretty good stuff, but haven't had a ton of experience with the amps. But tried both their attenuators. And I'm a fan of those. So good stuff. Gustavo is up there as well in the top chat. What is your ritual to make sure your guitars stay in tune during a gig? Thanks. Stretching the strings out good. My bridge on my signature guitar has the little lock saddles on it, and that's been so helpful. So that's great. On a Les Paul, or even sometimes on my signature guitars or a guitar like this, a little Big Ben's nut sauce in the nut is always a good thing. Really just helps to alleviate any kind of sticking or that kind of stuff, because I don't generally play guitars with Floyd Roses or any kind of locking nut on them live. I haven't for years. So making sure the nut is cut right, first of all, is really important. And that's something you got to take care of, obviously, before the gig, but cut right, and then with a little bit of lubricant. And the Big Ben stuff is really good. Diodario makes one that's nice as well for the lubricant. And yeah, just string stretched out good, locked in the bridge, wiggle the whammy bar, work them in, stretch them out, tune it up 4 or 5 times. That's it. It's the best you can do. Yep. Let's see. What else we got here? Carrie Miller says, is anybody using SSD 5.5? Having trouble after upgrading. All the MIDI hits from my keyboard seem super weak even when I just... I don't know about that. That sounds like a pretty specific problem. I haven't... Is that SSD? Are you talking about Steven Slate drums? Probably should check out the forum there or something. Maybe leave a message over there. What's the best material for a bridge? Nickel? I guess it just depends, I'm actually not too up on blocks and that kind of, a lot of people get into that, changing the blocks out and stuff. And I haven't done a ton of that myself. So I don't know about best material, I know I like whatever they're making my Wilkinson bridge out of, though, with those saddles and stuff. They seem to actually enhance the tone of just about any guitar. I replaced the 6-screw saddles on my 6-screw Goto vintage style bridge, I should say, on a Sir Classic I had, standard. It's a Goto bridge, but it's like a 6-screw vintage style bridge, if that makes sense. Tremolo. And I replaced the saddles with the lock saddles, and the guitar actually sounded better to me, just livelier. So whatever they're using on those is badass. Have you ever considered getting an Evertune? I have. I've actually talked to the company about getting one. I'd like to have one guitar with it. Just one. Yeah, I would. How was it working for Linda Perry? Did you ever write or record with her? Yeah, I mean, it was great. I spent a couple of years, playing guitar a lot in the studio with her. Miss her, actually. I'd like to see her one of these days and do more with her if it ever comes up again. She's not far from here. I know that. It's strange. You go through, like, I kind of left on tour with Cornell, really. It was that long ago with her. And then we sort of didn't work together as much after that because I just wasn't around as much and she'd find other people and stuff like that. But it was really cool. Did I ever write or record? I did a hell of a lot of recording with her. As far as writing goes, we did a little bit. But, like, I remember one day in particular writing a song with her and Courtney Love and Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick. And Billy Corgan, I think. Was Billy there? Yeah, Billy was totally there, and we all sat around and jammed. So it was Billy Corgan, Linda Perry, Courtney Love, Rick Nielsen, and me, and maybe a couple other people, like Nathan, who was playing drums on the session. Maybe Paul Ill was there on bass. And we came up with this cool track, and then it was time to bust out and go to dinner. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, whatever we came up with was cool. And then after dinner, something happened. Somebody had to leave all of a sudden. Then it was over, and we never went back to that idea. That's how that shit happens sometimes. But I was like, this is cool. I hope we can finish this song and somehow record it and turn it into something, because this is cool writing with all these people. But Patrick Carroll says, hey again, Pete, curious on you're up there in the super chat. Thanks, man. Curious on your stringing method. You mentioned mini wraps. Thoughts on the locking method, like the Dunlop guy, necessary? Everybody's got their own kind of thing. Generally speaking, on vintage tuners, of course, you do the, it goes in the hole and then you wrap it around, right? Like on a guitar like this that have the slots. So it's a different thing. And I will, like I say, on the high strings, I will tend to, if it's a guitar with, if it's a guitar with locking tuners, I'll pull the string through as tight as I can, straight through the hole. So line up the hole, pull the string through, lock the back, tune it up, stretch it out. Don't think any more about it. On a guitar like this, on the low strings, as least wraps as I can get away with, usually one, something like that, the better I find. But then on the high strings, maybe from the D string on, but the D string, I'll do like 2 wraps around, and then it'll be, and then on the other strings, like the G, the B, and the E, 4 and sometimes 5, because I don't want to, it's better to have more wraps that are well done and very neat all the way up the post and no string tree than it is to have a couple wraps and a string tree. That's what I find. I'd rather have more wraps around the post and the string just, going to the bottom of the, and getting more break angle over the nut, and do away with the string trees. Are a tuning problem. They're just nightmare. Anywhere where the string touches is a nightmare. So as far as it's just going to create friction. So I guess that's something that I do. And then on a Gibson style guitar, something like Gotos or Gibson style vintage tuners, I will go through the post. I forget now. I go through the post, wrap it around once, and then tune it up, and then it goes under. So do you know what I mean? Like, I can do it. I've done it a million times. I just forget how to describe it. But so that the string is locked when it comes to the post, then between the upper and lower, so there'll be 1 wrap on top, 1 wrap on the bottom, and the string coming through in the middle. And it's probably what that Dunlop guy does, I think, where the string's locked between the two. And that was just taught to me years ago. I don't know if it helps or not, but that's just the way I've always seen. The locking method, as you say, is probably like, yeah. I should do a video on how I string, I guess. You're just making me think like this is a good YouTube video, how I do it on all 3 different types of tuners. You know, why not? It'd be something I could make in a few hours, I would think. Probably useful. Yeah. Okay. Probably just about time to jet. About 1:56, few more minutes, and I will split. Get Good Drums are sick for rock and heavier styles. That's another drum program. Yeah, I tried an early version of it, and I thought it was really good. I was having some problems with loading libraries or something. I can't remember, and since then I kind of moved away from it. But it did sound good, and was really aggressive and cool. You know. I should mention the Get Good Drums Zilla cab loader, which isn't a drum thing, but it's an impulse response loader, is something I've been using a lot. And I'm going to make a video for over the next week or so at some point here. It's a really brilliantly simple impulse response loader and cab sim program. And I'm a fan. So, and I've been using it a lot. So yeah, I recommend that. So you'll see a video from me about that soon. What's the weirdest scale I have ever used? I don't really think about it that much, to tell you the truth, anymore. I mean, it's like the weirdest scale. I don't think I'm going to stick to these notes in particular of this scale. Like, it's not something I'll know generally where I'm supposed to put my fingers with any certain chord progression, or if I don't, I figure it out as the chords are going by. Okay, what's going on there? Oh, I see. When that chord lands, this is the target note, and this is why, you know, and I'll figure that out. But I'm not really thinking about scales so much, or modes that much, you know. I mean, yeah, I don't know how else to describe it other than that, you know. Does Pete have any HX Stomp patches? Not signature ones or anything. I should put some out. One of these days, I'll come up with some basic ones and put them out on their HX thingamajig, whatever they call it, Helix Marketplace. So, love Celestians, but honestly, the Emmy Governor has been my favorite lately, says Eddie. I think that's supposed to be kind of a takeoff on a Celestian, right? Is it the 75 or the V30, I think? RJ did a video shootout of a bunch of Hendrix pedals recently, I think. I want one too. I have a bunch of those. Are they those little Dunlop ones or just various ones, you mean? Because I've been using, actually, the mini fuzz face was the pedal that I used. If you watch the Voodoo Child, which I think I still have in, yeah, there it is. I'm going to put this in the chat here, guys. It's my version of Voodoo Child that came out this week. And on that, you can hear me using my Sir Classic with the Dunlop Mini Wah and the Mini Fuzz Face. and the Univibe sound is coming from the Mobius in the bridge or whatever, the down section in the middle of the tune, if you want to check it out. So I just put the link there. I'm going to jet in a minute. Please go check it out. Leave me a nice comment if you liked it. Or if you didn't, just close the video and don't leave any comment. Okay. Let's see. John is up there in the top chat, coming in right at the end here. He says, Pete, to use super switches on your strats to avoid the overlapping tone controls in either position 2 or 4, depending on the guitar. Just started doing this on mine, and he likes it a lot. I didn't know that's what a super switch does. Is that what they do? They avoid like loading with 2 tone controls or something? I just use the Sir standard, you know, the 5-way scheme that they have is what I use in my guitars that have hum, single, or that variety, whatever. I figure whatever John does with his electronics, you know, I know that when you go to a single coil and when you go to the humbucker, they're the proper loading and all that for, like, you know, 250K or 500, it sees the right thing for whatever pickup you're using and all that. They've got all that stuff figured out. So I leave that up to the masters at the out in Lake Elsinore. Andrew is somewhere in the UK, and he's up there in the top chat. He says, thanks for replying. Thoughts on the Simplifier when compared to the Iridium? Interested in hearing what you would recommend. I think the Iridium is, I mean, it's a much more of a, probably I think the Simplifier is simple analog sim, you know, that sort of colors the tone in a way that a guitar amp would, whereas the Iridium is much more a full-featured amp modeler with lots of range of gain all the way to fairly heavily distorted to all the way clean. And the Simplifier doesn't ever get super gainy or anything. I think they want you to use it with gain pedals for, I mean, you can distort it, but it's not like the Marshall sound on an Iridium, for instance. So if that was something that you want, like a plexi sound, it doesn't really get that far into distortion from what I remember, but I got to try it more. I haven't really given it a fair enough shake. It's neat and it's tiny and lots of options on it. So give me a little bit more time with it before I get too much more into it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Thank you, all you guys, again, for doing the top chat this week. John McLean, all you dudes that were up there. I really appreciate it. Thank you. What defines whether you use the Bogner Blue drives into your clean channel or your drive channel in the PT? Really, it's kind of in that video I did for Guitar, where I break down the difference in the gain level between, I say it's like the Bogner Blue into the clean channel is more for early, like 60s, early 70s. And then as we get into later 70s, into the 80s, then it's the gain channel on my amp, because it's just, I have it set for more gain, basically. More saturation and a little bit higher gain tones. So if I was playing, on the last tour that I just did, if I was playing the Who or something, I was doing the overdrive pedal into the clean channel. If I was playing Toto, right, like Rosanna, I was using the higher gain, the higher gain sound, which is the channel 2 of my amp. So I hope that spells it out. Depends on what material I was doing. So the Bogner Blue never quite gets that dirty. It's not a real high gain pedal. It's more like, like a plexi kind of gain. So, okay, guys. Well, I'm going to get on with it, and I'm going to keep working on this. I can't wait to fire this thing up and keep doing more. Wait till you see the intro for the Jose amp video. It's cool. I'm done with the intro. I'm not going to tell you what I did yet, but it's fun. I think it's fun. I spent a long time on it just because I was geeking out on it, really having a good time. So, but it took a little bit of work. So going to get into it more today and try and get that video out by probably, I guess, late this coming week, as well as some other stuff. I've got lots of videos to make for lots of pedals, the X Gear distortion pedal, the orange Terror Stamp tiny pedal board amp, that's coming soon. Crazy Tube Circuits Sidekick, which is an amazing modulation and delay and reverb box all in one. I've got an EF86 boost here, kind of unique EF86 tube in a pedal that's designed for boost. It had a real sweet front end. New version of the Sinvertech number 5 drive. Seymour Duncan phase shifter. Do I ever have my work cut out for me? The Simplifier. I better go. Okay, everybody have a great week. Stay safe out there. Once again, I thank you guys for being here. I didn't even think about this COVID thing this whole time. So that's hopefully, what we can do for each other by hanging out and talking guitar and stuff. I will see you real soon. Take care.